45, Mr. And you know how much of a huge cultural win it will be if they face plant? You know how stupid they're going to look? Hello, good people. It is Todd Shannon, data scientist, social commentator, getter of buckets. What are we talking about today? Y'all, I got to tell you, I got some spicy content for you today because I'm a little annoyed with the Daily Wire these days. I'm not going to lie. The Ron DeSantis pom-poms and the shade that they're throwing at Vivek Ramaswamy and one J, the one who shall not be named. I don't like to say his name because I feel like every time I say his name, YouTube suppresses my video. So he will be, from here on out, he will be President Voldemort. You know, he who shall not be named, okay? So, but I'm a little perturbed at how they're throwing shade at my guy. And I got to tell you, full disclosure, I am a Daily Wire Plus member, right? So I paid extra money to get their content or whatever because I believe in supporting conservative content. I think we need more of it and all that stuff. But the Ron DeSantis pom-poms, they got to chill. We're going to talk about what bothered me so much about it. So let's jump right into that.
100%. The big problem, I think, is that and listen, when you're explaining, you're losing, but I think the reason why DeSantis' campaign has run into some choppy waters is because he made a couple of core assumptions about the nature of the Republican electorate that just are not true. One of those core assumptions is that racking up wins would actually matter to the electorate. And this is a core assumption that is not true. I mean, the fact is that
people have short memories.
Well, not only that, DeSantis doing a thing is being treated exactly the same thing as Vivek saying a thing. So Vivek will say something like, critical race theory is terrible. And then DeSantis will pass a bill in Florida banning critical race theory in the classroom. And people are like, yep, those are the same thing. Those are basically the same thing. And it's like, well.
All right. Todd Thanks community. I got to tell you right now, I got to bring you in close. Listen, man, that irked me so bad. I have to tell you, the dismissive, like, yeah, here's Ben Shapiro. All right, the people saying Vivek Ramaswamy says a thing and then Ron DeSantis does a thing and people like that, it's the same thing. You know, the difference between Ron DeSantis and Vivek Ramaswamy is like, it's like a country mile, okay? They could not be more different. And the idea that Vivek Ramaswamy, just because he's regurgitating like anti-woke talking points, and that's the reason why people like him, when Ron DeSantis is actually doing legislation that's anti-woke. Vivek Ramaswamy is not just anti-woke. Vivek Ramaswamy is the clearest communicator of his values and his ideas that I have ever seen, okay? And to be dismissive, like Vivek Ramaswamy is just some guy just saying random things that Ron DeSantis is already doing, is just pure nonsense. The president of the United States is not just some policy genius, okay? He's not just some guy that's going to be like, hey, this guy, I like him, but this guy, he's going to cut the federal budget by 5%, so therefore, that guy's more conservative. The president of the United States, that role is primarily a leader and one who communicates a vision and a strategic vision for the country. A person who can do that. Not just do things, but explain why and convince and persuade others. Just as much as anything, the president of the United States is a salesperson. He's an expositor of ideals that are important to our Constitution and to our body politic more broadly. And I got to say, Ron DeSantis, he sucks at that. Okay? So these guys are in the tank for Ron DeSantis while they're throwing it. Vivek Ramaswamy says a thing, and it's just like the same thing as Ron DeSantis doing a thing. No, it's not. Ron DeSantis, I don't really know who he is. I tell you who I feel like I know pretty well, though. I feel like I know what his ideals are because every time I see him on my television, he's reiterating. This idea that Vivek Ramaswamy is just another version of an anti-woke guy, that's nonsense. Let me give you an example of what Vivek Ramaswamy is doing and has been doing differently. Here's footage of Vivek Ramaswamy with Tucker Carlson several weeks ago, maybe a month ago, talking about his vision and his ideas.
How do you think the country's doing?
I think the country is doing poorly, is the answer. I think that we void in our country. I'm the first millennial ever to run for US president as a Republican. And I see people my age in particular across this country who are not doing well because we're starved for purpose and meaning. The people are looking to be part of something bigger than ourselves, and yet we've lost the things that used to ground us. Faith, patriotism, hard work, family. These things are gone, and so we're lost in the wilderness, and then we latch on to whatever the other side serves up for us. You know, we could wokeism, transgenderism, climatism, whatever it is. These are symptoms, drug addiction, depression, suicide, you name it. These are symptoms of a deeper void of purpose and meaning in our country. But Tucker, I think the good news in that is I think our country's not doing well, but I think that this is also our opportunity as a movement to level up and fill that void, that vacuum, with our own vision. Individual, family, nation, God. When I talk to young people about this, they're more interested in that than they are in race, gender, sexuality, and climate. And so now we got to start running to something as Americans, and if we do, I'm confident that our country will be doing well again. That's where I'm at.
Is it
Has Ron DeSantis ever come close to articulating anything as cogent and as clear as that? No, that's not who he is. That's not what he does. You know what you know what they kind of remind me of? They kind of remind me of the guy, everyone knows one of these guys. They go like, hey man, I would have went pro, man. I would have played D1 if my high school coach didn't, he just didn't like me though. It was politics. Listen, as a person who played college basketball and as a person who had a few obstacles that were not necessarily basketball related, things that were kind of not my fault, that kind of got in my way. You know what the fact of the matter is? At the end of the day, I was still good enough and talented enough that despite those things, I made progress. So the truth of the matter is that guy always talking about, I would have played D1, but the coach didn't like me. The truth is you just weren't good enough. 9 times out of 10, that's the deal. You weren't good enough. Right? And what irks me about the Daily Wire Ron DeSantis pom-poms is they keep making excuses for why Ron DeSantis's campaign is falling flat. The truth, honestly, let's be clear about this. Ron DeSantis got a bump from the COVID thing in the same way that President Voldemort, he who shall not be named, in the same way that he took a hit from COVID. Ron DeSantis got an artificial bump because he made the right decisions during COVID. Before then, nobody knew who he was. And then he became, President Voldemort Jr. He became very, very President 45-esque in the way he dealt with the media. So he took a page from President 45 and that ended up working to his benefit, right? But what was he doing? He was being President 45 Jr. That's why he got that bump in the way he was dealing with the media. If it wasn't for COVID, would we really be this high on on Ron DeSantis? The answer to that is no. Okay, being the president, it's not just about passing anti-woke legislation. It's more than that. And as far as I can tell, the reason why Vivek Ramaswamy has the hearts of the people, he's what I call the people's champion. He's not necessarily winning in the polls. But the reason why he is the people's champion is because he is saying things that resonate with people who are saying, we need to be more than just anti-woke. We need to be for something. We need to have a positive articulation of a vision for the country, something that people can get behind, something that young people can get behind, instead of just telling them their wokeism is wrong. Of course it's wrong, but we have to explain why. We have to be a visionary, a person who sells that vision. Ron DeSantis is by far, of the people who are leading in the polls, he is by far the worst at that. Now, let me give you a contrast of what he did, and even Andrew Klavan mentioned it, and I can't understand why he keeps getting a pass.
This was about January 6th and whether Mike Pence had done the right thing by allowing the votes to go through. There's cut 3.
Do you believe that Mike Pence did the right thing on January 6th?
So here's what we need to do. We need to end the weaponization of these federal agents.
But that's not
I
the
will do
question.
that.
That's not the question.
I know, but here's the thing. This election is not about January 6th of 2021. It's about January 20th of 2025.
Again, I am telling you that mofo is not real, right? I mean, look, I don't care if he thinks Pence did right. I have my opinions. If he thinks Pence did wrong, I don't care. Whatever he says, I want to know what he believes, and I want to hear him say it. You can't. It's just weaselly to do that stuff. Now,
Exactly. That's exactly my point. You telling me that people don't see that? They don't see the fake veneer? You know, it was like, oh well, yeah, he might be kind of finger to the wind guy, but he passed anti-woke legislation. It was like, no, we need more than that. We need more than that. Okay? And what doesn't make any sense to me is that here is Andrew Klavan, who's a Ron DeSantis guy through and through. Here he is acknowledging that that's a flaw and that's a problem, but he seems to say, well, he just made a mistake right here. That's not really who he is. How do we know that? How do we know that's not really who he is? I'll tell you who doesn't do that. Vivek Ramaswamy. President Voldemort, he who shall not be named, J. They don't do that crap. They just say what it is they think, and they don't care if you're down with it or not. They just saying, this is who I am. People respect that. I respect that. That's what I want. I'm sick of fake politicians. I'm sick of it. I just want to know what you are, and I want to know that I'm confident that you're not selling me a load of garbage. You're not giving me this fake veneer. Let's contrast this with Vivek. Let's listen to another example.
Essentially deter China from trying to take over Taiwan until we have achieved semiconductor independence by the end of your first term in 2028.
At which point,
it would no longer be
at
in
which
our
point we will
self-interest to
resume.
stop China. Is that the way the U.S. under
That's not what I
President
said.
Ramaswamy would treat
I
allies?
literally, I will give you word for word what I said, at which point we will resume our position of strategic ambiguity, which, Andrea, I will remind you, is our position towards Taiwan today. The U.S., neither party even recognizes Taiwan as a nation right now. Both parties embrace the one China policy as we speak.
With the position
that's a good thing, because then you would know that what I've said.
But that position
Exactly.
does not deal with
I'm the
the
only presidential candidate, Andrea. I'm the only presidential candidate who has said we will defend Taiwan. Nobody's had the courage to say it. And then
Is that true? He's the only presidential candidate who said we will defend Taiwan? The answer, yes. You know what? You know what? I don't even know if that's the right thing to do, to keep it 100. I mean, I'm not a foreign policy expert. I don't really understand the strategic value of Taiwan and the dynamic with China. I'm a data scientist. I have kids to take care of and mouths to feed and a wife to love. I can't be a foreign policy expert. Is that the right thing to do? Maybe. But you know what I like is that he said it. I know what he wants to do. He's explained why he wants to do it. Might I be persuaded that maybe another way of proceeding is better? Maybe. But you know what? People saying, no one has been willing to say, hey, I'm gonna defend Taiwan, because that's kind of, some people think it's, maybe it's a provocation to China. I don't know. But Vivek is not playing that game. Okay? This is why Vivek Ramaswamy is the people's champ. Now, let's go back to this backstage conversation and watch Mr. Shapiro throw more shade at the people's choice for president.
That's not the same thing at all. So when he says, listen, I'm competent at being governor, I'm competent at doing these things, the Republican base doesn't vote for that anymore. Like the idea of core competency as a requirement for the office went out with Trump, because Trump had no experience.
Wait.
Okay, so Andrew Klavan's about to get in here, but see, this is another thing that got under my skin. Core competence doesn't matter. To me, listen, if I want to be talked down to, and there again, I just want to reiterate, I like Ben Shapiro. I like the Daily Wire. But if I want to be talked down to about who I prefer as president, I'll turn to MSNBC. I'll turn to CNN. The idea that a man who ran a bunch of businesses and who came in and who presented his policies to the people and said, this is what I want to do, and the people voted for it. The idea that the people only voted for that because they're not smart enough to know that he's not competent, it's condescending. Right? This is what I'm saying. This is what annoys me. The core competency. But Andrew Klavan, once again, he's still a DeSantis guy. He's going to speak some common sense to this, and this is the angle that I want to take and help us understand.
Trump represents something. I've always felt that there was Trump the person who is the person, but there's also Trump the voice of the people, and he embodies the voice of the people. This is 60 years of culture war, of telling the American people they stink. Their country stinks, their religion stinks, their patriotism stinks, their way of life stinks, their race stinks, everything about them stinks. And Trump, as far as I'm concerned, is a polite response to that. The response could easily have been pitchforks and torches outside.
I don't disagree with any of that, but that has nothing to do with actual policy wins on board.
What I'm saying, though, is there wasn't.
See, here's Ben Shapiro still talking about the policy stuff, okay? Okay.
A time when a DeSantis would have been easily the front runner, when people would have been paying attention to policy, when people would have been paying attention to results. They're not anymore because they're just too damned angry. And I think the anger is justified, but it's also
But by the way, there is...
the anger is justified? Yes. Self-destructive? Well, that remains to be seen. And see, this is the thing. People are acting like President Voldemort, he who shall not be named, like he was a bum. You know, last I checked, that guy put 3 Supreme Court justices in the Supreme Court that overturned Roe v. Wade. Who else did that? Last I checked, that guy had us energy independent. Who else did that? Last I checked, that guy produced the lowest unemployment for Black Americans ever. Who else did that? They talking about the man like he's a clown. They talk. This is what I hate. It's disrespectful. Listen, if you're going to put your Ron DeSantis pom-poms on, fine. Look, that's your guy. Make a case for him. But, you know, it's a difference between me saying, if somebody's having a debate on whether Jordan is the GOAT or LeBron is the GOAT, you can make your case against LeBron even though he's not the GOAT, or for LeBron even though he's not the GOAT. But if somebody starts saying LeBron's a bum, LeBron's trash, then I'm just like, get out of here with that bullcrap, man. LeBron's not trash, okay? We can make the case for why somebody is better without taking a dump on the guy who we don't think is as good. And this is what's getting on my nerves about the Daily Wire. But Andrew Klavan is touching on something that's important, see, because he understands Mr. Donald J., President 45, he who shall not be named, even though I've already named him. He understands the cultural relevance of Trump. And this is the thing. And here Ben Shapiro still talking about these little policy wins. What? Ron DeSantis, what are you going to do? He's like, he's going to balance the federal budget by 3%. It's like, that didn't even make sense what I just said. But anyway, the point that I'm making is that the cultural voice, and this is what they're missing. This is what they're missing. Let's look at something here. I think this is so glorious. This is glorious. Listen to this black guy talk about one President Voldemort, he who shall not be named. Listen to him talk about his support for 45.
You want to know why I'm here to support President Trump? Because they done did black men like this for decades. Make up charges and put them, so I know Trump is innocent. I support Trump against this corrupt, two-tiered justice system. That's why I'm here to show my support as a black man for Trump. And I'm wearing my shirt for Trump 2024, and I mean that.
What do you think about the indictments?
Oh, it's a bunch of It's going around the country. You know, Fannie Willis, she went to school with my sister. She full of she was full of then. So she's a puppet for the white liberal that is controlling everything. She's in front, but the white liberal back there pulling those strings, telling her what to do.
Do you understand the cultural relevance of black men getting behind 45? You understand how important that is? You're going to sit here and tell me that Ron DeSantis's anti-woke policies, that's worth more than breaking the hypnotic spell of the Democrat Party off of the minds of black people? Do you know that if President Voldemort, I keep saying his name, if President Voldemort If he ends up doing that, he ends up changing the way black people think about the GOP. That's going to be worth. It almost wouldn't matter how much better Ron DeSantis is on a policy perspective, because the Democrats would never win another election without the black vote. And you know what? You know who else has all those qualities that I've been talking about? Leadership. He's not the articulate expositor of a vision as Vivek Ramaswamy, but this guy, this is what people like about him. He's authentic, he's great with people, he's persuasive, and that is as much a part of being president as whatever nerd policy, fetish. I understand Ben Shapiro is listen, like I said, I'm talking real spicy right now. Ben, if I ever meet you and you ever see this, just know I'm not hating, but you're talking kind of crazy right now. You, Andrew Klavan, Matt Walsh, y'all need to get your eyes open and start seeing that this is not about marginal policy wins only. We're not talking about putting a Democrat in the White House versus Ron DeSantis. We're talking about other clearly articulated and, from the standpoint of the record, governing, at least with the President 45, people who have governed conservatively. He did govern conservatively. Don't tell me that he didn't. Okay? He didn't do everything right, but he did a lot of good. And the cultural impact, the leadership, and this is the biggest reason, I just want to wrap it up with this. This is the biggest reason why President Voldemort 45, Mr. Donald, this is why he needs to be president, because the Democrat Party needs to be humiliated. This is the biggest reason. They cheated and cheated and cheated and cheated and cheated. And you know how much of a huge cultural win it will be if they faceplant. And in January of 2025, he who came down the elevator in 2015 is now being sworn in again. You know how stupid they're going to look? You know how glorious that will be? You know how fantastic it'll be that these clowns actually took the biggest L of their life, even though they did everything. They did illegal stuff. They cheated. They changed the rules. They lied on him, and he still beat them. Sign me up for that. That's why he needs to win. Don't tell me about, this, marginal difference in policies, because those things don't equate long-term success necessarily. This is a cultural moment. And I want to see Mr. 45 back in the White House. That's why I'm voting for Mr. Voldemort. But if I can't have him, I'll take Vivek. And I guess as a consolation prize, Ron DeSantis will be okay too. Let me know what you think. Am I talking crazy? Am I out of my mind? Am I right about it? Let me know. Put in the comments. Who do you like? Right? Is it too big of a risk to be on board with one President Voldemort, he who shall not be named? Is Vivek Ramaswamy, is he too young? Let me know. Till next time, friends. God bless you.